Recordings. So you started? All right, so here we go. All right, so since we have already kind of begun, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little intro. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sports and Medicine Broadcast, episode 36. I want that guy on my fantasy team for November 28, 2012. Unfortunately, my students are not experienced at all in fantasy sports, so they are going to be missing out a little bit on the entire content of today, but we're going to get to as much as we can and kind of talk about Jeff's job and what he's doing there. But before we get to Jeff real quick, I want to tell you a little bit about him. He's an injury analyst for Rotowire, head athletic trainer at Mount St. Mary Academy. He's been an athletic trainer for about 6 years, and he's also an award-winning journalist, author, the Fantasy Sports Writers Association. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But I am, of course, your host, Jeremy Jackson, and
Caitlin,
Priscilla,
Crystal, Susie, Lorena, Leslie.
And then Monica and Karen and Claudia are doing other jobs, so monitoring today's meet or those kind of different things, taking pictures. So before we waste too much more time, Jeff, you still there?
Yeah, excited to be on. Sorry about all the technical difficulties.
No worries, it happens. All right, so hit us up with some your background, where you're from, that kind of thing.
Well, I am originally from Dallas, Texas. Currently reside in Little Rock, Arkansas, with my wife and young baby. I've been an athletic trainer, like you said, for 6 years, and about 5 years ago, I started writing for Rotowire, which is like the premier fantasy sports website out there. We provide coverage to ESPN.com, Yahoo Sports, Fox Sports, all kinds of things. And really, my day-to-day job is I'm an athletic trainer for St. Vincent Health Systems, where I'm contracted out to a high school here, where I'm the head athletic trainer. And I kind of do a little bit of both. I've got my head AT gear, and then during the day, when I find the time, I'm able to be the injury analyst for Rotowire.
All right, so you're the head athletic trainer for Mount St. Mary's Academy. I missed it. Is that a high school or is that an all-level school?
It's a high school. It's an all-girls private school, so I get to work with all-female athletes. Which, when I first got into this, if you told me that's where I was going to be, I probably would have laughed at you. But it's a great job. I love my job. I love my students. I've got a great athletic training student staff. I've got 5 girls that are just phenomenal, and I really, really love working with all the athletes there. And then, like I said, I do my injury analyst stuff on the side.
All right. How many kids are at the school?
500 kids, and the number of athletes just depends on the season. We've got 11 sports total. Currently, we're with basketball, swimming, and bowling, and then we'll shift obviously with the season change.
Bowling. All right. Our bowling team is pretty good down here. I think they've won several awards. So, all right, very cool.
Give us a short story of your road to becoming an athletic trainer.
Well, I was studying biology in college and kind of on the med school track, and I just had really no interest in going to med school after taking an entrance exam. I just kind of got burnt out on the whole med school track and still wanted to do something with medicine, just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I decided that I was going to answer a flyer for a ad I saw for the local independent baseball team looking for business interns. I called and said, look, I don't want to be a business intern. I was hoping you guys would have something with your sports medicine team. They sent me to their athletic trainer, and next thing you know, I'm an athletic training intern working a summer of independent baseball, and absolutely loved it. Met my mentor, George Bullock, who was a certified ATC, and he carried me over to the minor league hockey team in town as well, so I got to spend some time there. And from there, I decided that if I wanted to do this, I needed to get more education, especially to sit for the BOC. So I went and got my master's degree in athletic training at Texas Tech Health Science Center in Lubbock, and just got to spend some time out there with a variety of schools and the basketball team out there, and really just fell in love with it, and just have bounced around looking for where I wanted to be, and finally found my spot at high school, and really loved being the head AT at high school. I like working with the athletes, and they're appreciative, and I like just doing my job well and making sure that the athletes are out there performing to their best abilities and they're healthy.
All right, so you went to college without any experience as an athletic trainer. Did you know what an athletic trainer was before you talked about sports medicine?
I did. I was an athlete. I ran cross country in college, and so I had spent a little bit of time in the athletic training room, but I just hadn't really. It wasn't something I had actively pursued. I just knew that was a facet of the sports medicine team, and once I really got to see what it was about, and that you were an integral part of the team, and you're a big part of not just practices but games as well, and basically. The field has advanced so quickly, so fast, and so much in the last couple of years that my perception early on that it was kind of a glorified water boy position quickly changed, and I realized how important athletic training is, and how important a good athletic trainer can be. And it was really like, this is what I want to do, and so really had to play catch up. And where a lot of the students in my master's class had been doing it since high school and knew how to do certain things that we take for granted, that we can tape an ankle with our eyes closed. Well, I hadn't taped a whole lot, so little skills like that people are learning now in high school and have the advantage of learning. I didn't, so I had to play catch up a little bit, but I thoroughly enjoyed the process, and here I am today. Like I said, head AT of a school, and absolutely love my job.
All right, sounds very cool.
Can you explain your job with Rotowire?
Yeah, I've been at Rotowire for, like I said, 5 years, and I have slowly evolved to be the injury analyst for all three major sports: basketball, baseball, and football. And fantasy sports is a huge industry, and basically people draft teams in whatever sport they're doing based on the professional league, and based on their performances on Sundays or on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis, they accumulate statistics and stats. Well, it's a million and billion-dollar industry where people are always looking to gain a competitive edge. And so basically what I try to do is help those that are really committed understand what the heck to expect with certain injuries. Now, athletic trainers are pretty well versed in ankle sprains, or a grade 1 ankle sprain, or a grade 2 ankle sprain, or even a high ankle sprain. But I want to try to make the people that read my columns and are out there playing fantasy sports understand what it means. What's the difference between a lateral ankle sprain or a high ankle sprain? And then I also try to even do it even more detailed when it comes to sport. Well, if this pitcher has an ankle sprain, how is that going to affect him versus a guard in basketball? And really try to give them enough information so they can make a decision on what they want to do with their rosters. If they want to try to trade that guy, if they want to try to put him on the DL or keep him. Is it an injury that may require surgery? Is he going to be able to play for me anymore this year? And really just try to break down some technical terms so that people that aren't well-versed in sports medicine can understand what's going on.
All right, so do you think that your experienced athletic trainer, kind of maybe some of your mission is to help the common person understand what an athletic trainer is through any of your column? Like, does that kind of transfer at all?
It definitely does. It's so difficult for people to understand the difference, especially with big sports teams, between the strength and conditioning coaches or the athletic trainers, and really I try to help spread the word of athletic trainer versus trainer, using the proper terminology. And a lot of times the people that are covering these teams so closely are not specifically sports medicine versed, so they end up getting some of the terminology. The biggest one probably that I see is a lot of times people intermix the term sprains and strains, and they don't understand the difference when there is in fact a big difference. We really try to not only educate the general public on basic terminology, but also what the rehab process does, how the different members of the medical team are involved, and what's going to happen to get those players back.
So it's an interesting way to kind of promote the profession of athletic training is through fantasy sports. You wouldn't think that you're promoting athletic training at all, but that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and I've been pretty fortunate. I've been able to team with another injury analyst. We have Will Carroll from Sports Illustrated, and I team together. And Rotowire sponsors an athletic training award that we put out every year. It's the Monahan Martin Award, and it's named for the former athletic trainers of the Minnesota Twins and the New York Yankees. And we give it out to athletic training staff every year for the top team based on some data that we do. Will developed a formula that helps establish how many games missed by a team over a period of time, not just one season, but multiple seasons, as well as dollars saved. And really, you can evaluate how effective is the athletic training staff. Are they getting the proper players out there? Are players spending more time on the disabled list or out on the field? And so we're able to highlight the athletic training staffs that do a good job and maybe reduce those numbers as time progresses. And this year's winner was the Cincinnati Reds staff.
What led you to become an injury analyst?
I always had a passion for writing. I loved writing about sports. And I actually started just kind of writing on sports blogs and things like that about not necessarily injury-related stuff, but things like I'm a big Dallas Mavericks fan, so I would write about the Dallas Mavericks or some of my other teams that I like to follow, and really decided that I wanted to try to use my expertise in a different way. And so I started writing about kind of some sports-specific stuff when it came to injuries, and I actually approached Rotowire saying, hey, I see you guys have some injury stuff. Is there any way I can jump on and help out with that? And at the time, they weren't hiring anybody, so I latched on as the Dallas Mavericks beat writer for them and did that for about 6 months before they approached me and said, hey, we could use some help with football. I know you primarily wanted to be a basketball guy, but can we give you a shot at football? And I said, sure. And next thing I know, I'm the injury analyst for football, and after that came basketball and eventually baseball.
All right, so basically through volunteering your time and something that you're already interested in doing anyways, you got hooked up with this?
Yeah, exactly. I was proactive about it a little bit. A lot of the stuff that I did early on was, completely volunteer, free stuff. I am a regular writer now, so I am on staff, which is nice, but at the same time I do it more so because I like it. And it's a great way to stay up to date. I can't put false information out there, so I have to make sure that the information I'm providing my readers is up to date and that I'm not behind and I'm not giving them the wrong information. I have to constantly turn to my textbooks to make sure I'm using the proper terminology, even if I'm not misremembering something or basically giving them something that's out of date. So it's a constantly evolving field. I've got to stay on top of it, and it's a great way for as an athletic trainer to stay on top of things as well.
All right.
What opportunities have been open through this?
Hang on. You got to get close to the mic, Crystal.
What opportunities have been open through this job?
I've been able to meet amazing writers. Will Carroll, like I said, of Sports Illustrated, and I have become friends. He's a great guy. He's done a lot to help me out. I was able to help him out with some of his work for Sports Illustrated's website earlier this year, which was a great opportunity. The award that we do, I think, is huge. I've been able to meet some great athletic trainers. Zach Lowe of Grantland.com and I have been able to meet, and he's been very supportive of helping me out. And so really it's been a great opportunity to not only meet athletic trainers, but writers in the sports world, and really just giving me some opportunities to expand my athletic training credentials so that, not only am I experiencing sports from the high school on my day-to-day job, but I'm also getting to see things at the professional level and be involved around a great group of writers that are amazing what they do and really have helped me perfect my craft. And then really the entire staff at Rotowire has been great to work with, and I've been able to do things like I have a weekly guest spot on Rotowire's SiriusXM radio show, and I've also been able to do a couple additional things via Skype or via YouTube, things like that have really just allowed me to get my face out there, my name out there, and really just helped me become a better athletic trainer.
All right, so have you been able to go to like games or anything like that, events for free or as part of the staff?
I went to baseball winter meetings last year, MLB baseball winter meetings. That's where we generally present the award. I was able to go to that and attend some press conferences and see that side of it. I was going to go this week, but unfortunately our basketball schedule at the school didn't play into that, so I wasn't able to go. Next week I won't be able to attend it in Nashville, but I've also been able to attend games and not necessarily for free, but it's very hard to get press credentials for fantasy sports. It really has to be more focused than that. But I've been able to do some other work with some other websites where I've been able to really interact with people, and it's more so via email or internet or phone. than necessarily, in person. But I have been able to do a couple of in-person interview kind of things.
That's pretty cool. So Will Carroll, is he for ESPN? Is that right? Injury expert.
Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated.
So, he was formerly with Baseball Prospectus, and now is the main writer at Sports Illustrated.
All right, very cool. Yeah, so I've followed him on Twitter as well, and I know he was off it for a while, and now he's back on or something. But
yeah, he took a brief sabbatical from Twitter, but he's back on, and he's a great follow for any ATC out there. Especially he's very in tune with baseball and performance enhancing drugs, and he's really currently focusing on the Adderall movement, and he's just a great guy to follow and a great writer. So if you're out there on Twitter and need a good injury follow, he's the guy to follow.
All right, so real quick about the Adderall, I just saw an article about the Seattle Seahawks having 2 players. I know it says it's a stimulant, and so is there a reason that they would take that to enhance performance?
Focus, get a slight edge. It's an area that I'm not as familiar with, and the policies are different for each sport, so that makes it a little bit of a tricky situation, especially in football. But you can gain an advantage, but if you're already on a prescription for something else, then it's a little bit different, But it looks like the 2 guys, the Seahawks, were not on the list, the original list for needing to take this, and really it's just one of those things where really there's a lot of unknowns about it. We got to make sure that it's not something that's being abused and used improperly.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen it a couple times, the Adderall, and I was like, man, what's the big deal? But maybe I'll ask Will Carroll or something like that, since you said he's more heads up, right?
Yeah, he's definitely the go-to guy as far as the Adderall and sports performance stuff. He does a good job.
All right, well, enough about him. Let's get back to you. Susie got a question for you.
What is the hardest thing about your job?
Finding information with HIPAA and the different ways that medical information is protected. It's extremely hard to get up-to-date, accurate information. A lot of times, unless you have a source or someone willing to talk, it's really hard to get up-to-date information that is pertinent. A lot of times you're getting information from reports from beat writers, and like I said earlier, they can easily misuse terminology. So you can begin breaking down an injury, assuming it's a knee sprain, and you start talking about how the ligaments are going to be affected, and it ends up being an actual strain. So you kind of have to reword everything. And then some teams are just a little bit more protective with their information. The New England Patriots are extremely guarded with their information, and will wait till the last minute to give the information out there. And really, it can be difficult to just find that information. The other thing would be just balancing time. The hours of an athletic trainer in general can be a little bit grueling, but you add in a little bit of extra work in there, and it can take away from some of my downtime. But it's well worth it, and it's a good problem to have.
Can you tell us about your regular athletic training job?
Yeah, like I said, I'm the head AT at an all-girls school, private school. Absolutely love my job. We've expanded to include student athletic trainers this year. I've got 5. All 5 girls are extremely good at what they do. It's really nice that they are able to come in and work as hard as they do. I didn't have that opportunity, like I said, in high school. So to have an athletic training staff that wants to learn as much as they do and really is as focused as they are, it really helps my job out so much. And it's very cool to see them come along with taping and terminology and that kind of thing. But I provide coverage for pre-games and post-games and practices just like any other athletic trainer. I'm at the school full-time, which is great. I do have some additional certifications. I have my performance enhancement specialist certification, and so I do a lot of the conditioning for a lot of the teams as well. And more of the conditioning we do isn't necessarily strength, but more preventative care, making sure they're ready and that they're going to do everything they can to avoid the normal sprains and strains that come with playing sports.
All right, so we talked to Diane Shore. She's from a local Catholic school. She's the the health coordinator for the campus. Do you have anything like that, or is your job really just athletics?
Just athletics, because I'm work through the hospital. I am able to do a little bit more expanding. I've seen a couple of teachers before. I've seen a lot of non-student athletes. If they're weekend warriors or they play an off sport or they're a dancer, if they get another injury as well, I'm more than willing to do evaluations and help with treatments and set up treatment plans for them. So basically, anybody under the Mount St. Mary roof, if they need help. I'm there to do whatever I can, whether it's treatment directly or indirectly.
I gotcha. So real quick, at the beginning, I mentioned you won an award for writing an article. Why don't you tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, every year Rotowire puts out a football magazine and a baseball magazine. I've been fortunate enough to contribute, I believe, for the last 4 years, and about 3 years ago, I was asked to become a member of the Sports Writers Association. It's basically a group of sports writers and a group to protect ourselves and help ourselves and mingle and that kind of thing. Well, every year they do a yearly award, and after several nominations and striking out, 2012 I was able to snag an award for my magazine article. It was an injury article based on assessing injury risk in football. And basically, in my column, I broke down how to look at different players and make an educated guess on what their injury risk is going to be. Because, as you know, we can't predict injuries. Injuries are going to happen. You can be 100% healthy and suffer a freak accident and tear your ACL. But you can look at some of the data and look at the style of play of the player and some of his past and different ways and different techniques to assess the injury risk in those players, so that you're not spending a high draft pick and risking an injury with a team full of guys that could potentially be injury prone or are more likely to suffer an injury.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the Astros joining the American League?
I'm excited about it. It's always bothered me that the NL Central had 6 teams and the American League West only had 4 teams. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So that now that every division is going to have 5 teams, I think that's going to be good for baseball. I'm really interested to see Texas and the Texas Rangers and the Astros play more frequently and not just be an interleague series every year. I think it'll be good for baseball to have another little geographical rivalry. The Astros have some work cut out in front of them. They've got a nice up and coming team, but they still got plenty of holes to fill, and they've got to figure some things out, and hopefully we'll be able to gain some ground in a new division. But the big thing is you're going to see an adjustment in their pitchers with the shift from the National League to the American League, and the addition of the designated hitter. So I think it's great for baseball. I'm excited about it. I'm interested to see what happens and how it kind of creates a little bit more balanced of a competition field.
Yeah, I'm glad that they pretty much just sold out and went. They basically farmed off everybody to get a whole bunch of new young prospects instead of trying to hold on to some of the really expensive ones, and then just said, all right, we're going to do this rebuilding thing right. So
it's very difficult to just press the reset button in baseball because it takes several years to really take effect. But if you look at teams like the Washington Nationals, they did it properly. They kept their farm system strong. They added as many prospects as they could, and were able to become a playoff contender. And hopefully, a couple years down the road, we'll see the same from the Stros.
Hopefully, and then hopefully it'll be a pretty good rivalry between the Astros and Rangers now.
Yes.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are your future plans for fantasy sports?
I would love to build a database for injuries to kind of help look at different statistics and understand how long and what kind of injuries can we predict for most sports. It's extremely difficult to kind of make a sabermetrics style for injuries because of the different variables. Certain athletic trainers treat certain injuries different ways, so it's really hard to make any kind of predictive data based on what we have. It's just there's so many variables out there. But I'm slowly building an NBA database with all the injuries to at least provide plenty of background information for a player, and I would love to be able to somehow use that data to make statistical comparison and maybe a predictive quality to it. But right now it's so difficult to do and pin down that until teams are going to be willing to provide a little bit more information on treatments and that kind of thing, it's going to be extremely difficult to do.
So that sounds like it'd be a lot of time sitting in front of a computer with Excel or whatever.
That's exactly what it is. It's a whole lot of searching the internet and making sure you're getting the right information and really trying to pin down what exactly the injury was. And like I said, that's the difficult part. Is sometimes you get the vague term, well, it was a knee sprain, but they don't specify, was it ACL or PCL, MCL, what was it? And sometimes it's just a capsule injury rather than a sprain, but they call that they classify it. And so it can be difficult. And that's really, like I said, the problem with the variables and how difficult it can be. But it's exciting, and hopefully I'm at least able to get a decent amount of data so that I can maybe provide some more information on my writing and say, okay, well, this guy's had this in the past, this injury in the past, and you should be leery of drafting him when he's got even more injuries down the road.
All right, so we just have, I think, one, maybe two more questions before I got to let these kids go to lunch. So, Susie?
How can someone get into a job like this?
Be proactive. Write. Refine your writing skills and really just wait for an opportunity. Approach different companies. Don't necessarily settle. If they don't have anything, it doesn't mean they can't at least use you to do something else in the meantime. There's plenty of ways that you can get your writing out there nowadays with Twitter and the various sports blogs, that kind of thing. So if it's something you really are passionate about doing, write, and just keep getting your work out there, because sooner or later someone's going to see it, and it just has to be the right person to see it.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, I like that you said you approached them and went after and said, hey, I'm already doing something along the lines. Can I help out? And then even at that, they said, we know you really want to do baseball, but are you willing to do football? And then that kind of opened the door for you to do other things. You said now you're doing football, baseball, and basketball?
Yeah, all three of the big fantasy sports.
So what about golf? Isn't that real big?
Not as big. It's there, and we provide the information on Rotowire, but again, it's not something necessarily that's a huge market right now.
I understand. I tried to play once, and I was like, nah, not so much.
Don't you have to be quiet whenever you play? Like, talk?
Not playing fantasy golf, but...
Oh, but like real golf.
Yeah, you're supposed to be quiet, part of the rules.
That's
something
lame.
Or understood rules, so they can concentrate. So, all right, well, Jeff, are there any parting thoughts before I have these kids put their headphones down and stuff like that?
Never be afraid to look something up. Always really just, no one's going to have every answer, so just constantly have plenty of resources and utilize those resources because you can never have too much information, like I said, and just do your best to make sure you're always trying to improve and learn, because that really is going to help you, especially in athletic training, a field that's changing by the minute, and new techniques and new opportunities are presenting themselves, and you have to be proactive and take advantage of those opportunities and that information.
All right, I think we have a comment from
your wife asked, she said it was an important question, is RG3 versus I don't know what it says. It's ELI.
Oh yeah, my wife has RG3 and Eli on her quarterbacks and she's trying to get an insider scoop. What do you think, Jeff?
RG3's had the friendlier fantasy game because he has that extra depth with running. It's a tough matchup between those two, but RG3 put up big points this past week on Thanksgiving, and hopefully he'll continue to do the same because he's obviously been a more fantasy-friendly quarterback. So I'd go RG3 by a nose right now.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on, and maybe we'll talk again sometime, hopefully without technical problems and all that stuff. So if you need to go, you can end the call, and then I'll close it all by myself. So
sounds good, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Right, thanks, Jeff. Bye.
Bye.
Y'all take care.
We can leave?
Yeah. See you guys.
Bye, Jackson.
Just leave it going. I'll close it. Just leave it all going. All right, so if you're listening live, my kids are going. You can see they'll be stuck on whatever camera view Monica left it on. That was a pretty good, quick conversation with Jeff. And I know it was a little noisy. There was static, but he was improvising and making it work. He was using his cell phone to Skype, and that's always a little bit noisier because you don't have the microphone and headphones, so you kind of get interference. So if you're listening live, thanks for hanging with me. And if you're listening to the recorded broadcast, you're probably not going to hear this because I'll probably take it out. But you will hear this. There's certain people we want to mention. I know I've talked about the Pasadena ISD Education Foundation before, and they really support us. And there's lots of stuff you can do. If you just happen to want to support them, you can go to their website. But the Pasadena Rotary Club was the main sponsor for our grant that got most of this podcasting equipment. And I just wanted to make sure I gave them a shout out if they ever listen to this, if anything like that. I really want to just say thank you, Pasadena Rotary Club, for being involved in the community, being involved in our school. And we are now at 36 episodes today, and we've done several student podcasts. So we've had a lot of fun stuff that we've done because of their involvement with our community. So again, thank you, Pasadena Rotary Club and the Education Foundation, for connecting them with us. I like Jeff's words of wisdom: be proactive. If there's something you want, go get it. So he didn't just sit back and let them come to him, but he went out there, wrote, got kind of known for doing some stuff, saying, hey, here's my work, come check it out. I'll do whatever it takes to be involved here. And then eventually got on doing something else, but again, willing to take that step so that he could later move into the correct position, doing what he does now. So if you want to contact us, of course, our website is www.pasadenaisd.org/phs/athletic training. You can Google sports medicine broadcast, and it'll probably come up as one of the top things there, I think. You can follow us on Twitter, PHS Sports Med, Google+, PHS Athletic Training, Facebook.com/PHS Athletic Training. On our website, there's all the Ustream, Justin TV. Justin TV we've stopped doing for now because we've got all these different camera angles and stuff going on. So the Ustream, the Today's Meet, the social stream, there should be links for everything on there. And then finally, our office phone. If you just happen to want to call on the phone and talk to me, tell me that we're doing a great job or terrible job, or that you want to be a guest, 713-740-0310, 01312. So for Jeremy, and as you can see on the live stream, I am solo. So for Jeremy, my sports medicine kids over here. For Jeff, all the way up in Little Rock, Arkansas, that's a wrap. And then